This isn't a hammer stream.
We are live, Scott. We are live. Just needed you to know. I don't know why you keep changing things. I set everything up. So yeah, we're doing a Manic and Chill live again. Not planned. So let's see how this goes. But, look, if you can't get on the mic and talk about fantasy football for like 15, 20 minutes, what are you even doing in this world? Why are you even in this game? Just get out of this game if you can't go live and talk about fantasy football for 20 minutes. That's some job advice or something. So, Scott, how you doing? No one cares. We do have one hammer question, though. We have one hammer question. Did you want to get to it? We're going to get to it.
Oh, my gosh. Shane with the introduction. I absolutely love it. We always beg Clay just to go live, and it's always like, what are you going to talk about? Is this going to be able to make some reels, some shorts? Is it actually going to be structured, or is it going to be like old Manic and Chill days? Anybody that listened to us on that other platform, we used to do Manic and Chill. We would literally just text each other and say, you want to do a Manic and Chill? Sure. What do you want to talk about? I don't know. Dynasty? Okay, go live. Let's hopefully the audience has some good questions. Otherwise, we just sit here and bullshit. But yeah, we got a good question. Shane, I do want to cover this topic. So if anybody's listening right now and you're in the chat early on in the stream, if you have any questions about if you have non-top 2 draft picks in this class. So we're talking Superflex, but if you had non-top 2 picks, so if you're sitting there at the 103, 104, 105, those are going to be the 3 picks that I'm going to specifically single out. Maybe we can even say 103 or 104. But if you're at the 103 to 105, and you have a league where you are thinking about drafting a QB, what's going through your analysis as to if and who you're going to draft? Have you tried to shop the pick? Have you looked around at the QB landscape? Have you assessed the value of QBs versus wide receivers in your league? Have you gone through that? I want to talk to Shane a little bit about just the psychology of making those picks, what's happened with the last couple classes at QB, how they haven't necessarily had this stability. I mean, Shane, you would agree the best QB since 2021 to come into the NFL is who? Since the 2020 class, when we had Jordan Love, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurts, who has been the best QB since 2020? After that class, who's been the best one? And you're overthinking it.
It's not Trevor Lawrence.
It's Trevor Lawrence.
When was Kyler? 2019.
19. It's Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
So the fact that we've only had Trevor Lawrence, who, if you ask Shane, if you give him 5 minutes, well, you could say Stroud. I'll give you Stroud because he's in 1 year. I'll give you Stroud. Yeah. I agree with Stroud. But other than that, all the QBs from that class going forward have felt disappointing. There's been interruptions in their value. Their value is completely cratered. So I think it's kind of creating a little bit of pullback from the community on just drafting these QBs because they're high draft picks, which typically is a good bet. But given the relativity of the QB pricing across your league, I think it's important to kind of figure out, do I really have to take Drake May over Malik Neighbors? Do I really have to take Jaden Daniels over Rome Odunze? Like, should I even consider that? So we'll talk about that as we get into the stream. But let's get to Ty's trade. And Shane, I'm going to have you monitor the chat. If we get any good questions regarding this topic, please star them so that I can see them. And you've already put 7 questions in there. So maybe I have to scale back a little bit on letting Shane star. Otherwise, we'll have 40 comments starred within the next 10 minutes. But let's get into Ty's question. It's best ball. Anybody that watched the Hammer stream yesterday probably saw this. They talked about it for a little bit, but chose not to answer it. They wanted to get our take when we came on here. So it's perfect that we're doing this Manic and Chill live, because here it is. Ty DeClaire, Mr. Roster Reviewer, guest analyst on Trades and Fives. You're seeing him more active on the channel recently. Did the Hammer stream with Clay last night. He gave us 5 hammers. You don't have to do that, Ty, but thank you for the 5 hammers. We appreciate it. We'll pay it back to you in spades. All right. So best ball, 11 starters, PPR, half-point tight end premium, 6-point per passing touchdown, 32-man rosters. He's got Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, Sam Laporta, Kyle Pitts, cans. So now remember, Shane, in best ball, cans can be useful. You can make some calls with cans. You know how you had those you had to make a call from your treehouse with the can phone? You're not. You know what I'm talking about, right? You're on mute.
Yeah, I was poor. I was poor. We that's what we played with: string,
Yeah,
cans,
the string can
needles,
phones. Yeah, for
needles
sure.
that we found on the street, whatever. Yeah,
Yep.
Mr. Pointy.
You go
Um,
right from a fun joke of canned phones to needles in the street. All right. Anyway, the point is in best ball, cans can be useful. You're going to have cans, but cans can score points when it's best ball because you don't have to start them. So I think everyone gets that concept, but cans are not as bad in a best ball league as it would be if it's lineup. Now look at those picks, Shane. 101 through 105.
nice.
Then we have the 201, 205, and then we have 209, 211, 301, 302. So that is another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 picks inside the top 14 from round 2 and beyond. And then you have the first 5 picks of the draft. So right there, 11 of the top 26 picks in the rookie draft. If I can't find a deal pre-draft, I've flirted with going Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, then holding QB hostage at 104, 105, looking for creative ways to set this team up to smash. So there's the team. It's pretty thin on assets, basically. It's got 5 players plus can roster fillers. Let's say he's just got a bunch of players where you go, okay, they're usable, probably won't cut them, but they're not worth much. They're what I like to call just placeholders, meaning like if you saw this roster, you'd probably only give a 3rd round pick for some of the players on his team, but you probably wouldn't pay any more than that for most of them. But he also wouldn't trade a lot of them for 3rds either, because a 3rd doesn't help him in best ball. 3rd, you're just looking for assets that can fire. So any creative ways that you can think of with this. I know you don't play a ton of best ball, so I kind of want to get your thoughts on how you would look at this. And then I'll weigh in on what I think. Any thoughts?
So let me ask you this: in a typical best ball league, and Ty's not here, so you'll have to be the proxy for him. How valuable are, let's say, top end quarterbacks? Or you know what? Let's not even go there. How valuable are the QB? Is the QB? How valuable would the QB 10 through 15 be?
Well,
From a trade
we'll say this
perspective.
More valuable from a standpoint of if I have 4 QBs inside the top 20, I don't need any of them to be inside the top 10 because it's best ball. The strength is in numbers, and that applies to every position, but it especially applies at QB. To where, like, if I could dream up my QB room, sure, I would love to have the 5 top QBs. But I am totally fine rolling with like a Dak Prescott as my best QB. But the key is I want to have enough volume to get by. And if you run the war, and if you look at the optimal roster construction in a best ball, it is probably 4 to 5 starters minimum. I need 5 starting quarterbacks. Now, what people get hung up on is I don't need 5 starting quarterbacks in March. I probably only need 3, 2 to 3, because there's going to be times during the year where I can pick up a 4-week starter on waivers. So from like a week-to-week standpoint, Shane, I probably need 5 starters. Maybe 4 if I have a really high-end one. If I have somebody like Josh Allen, I don't need 5 starters. The odds that one of those guys beats him on a weekly basis is much lower, so I don't need as many. But I'll just tell you this, in a common league like this, if you have Josh Allen and I have Trevor Lawrence, the difference between them, you would be very hard-pressed to find somebody that just adds a first to Trevor Lawrence to get Josh Allen. Just because it's best ball. They can win with 4 Trevor Lawrences. You can have 2 Josh Allens. They have just as good of a chance to beat you because it's best ball.
Right.
Lineup league, you only can have 2 Josh Allens and you're fine most of the time. They have to pick and choose between their 4 Trevor Lawrences. It's very difficult. That's the difference. So people are much less likely to go, man, let me tear off of a Pat Mahomes to get 2 strong pieces. What I've found is a lot of best ball leagues, especially like Heisman leagues or sharp best ball leagues, the person that already has the Dak or the T-Law, they're not interested in adding another core piece to go get a hammer, especially in a start 11, especially in a 32-man roster league. That extra depth and extra assets matters a lot more than it would be in your typical league.
all that to say, so and he does have two high-end quarterbacks. He has Burrow and Lamar.
Yep.
And he notes he wants to hold the quarterbacks hostage. So I don't know if that means he wants to draft them and then trade them or just hold them and basically just hold them. Because it feels like this would be a little bit of keep away would be a good thing in best ball, even more so in lineup leagues where I'm taking them off the board. Now I know again you'll have those weekly starters that'll just fill in and they'll pop or whatever, and you don't have to choose. So there is that. But if you take, let's just say, Jaden Daniels, and he's probably not going to get Caleb, right? No, he has the 101 through to 105. He can get
Correct.
Caleb and Jaden Daniels. I would shoot upside. There's a good chance. I don't know if it's a good chance. I'll say there's a significant chance that he ends up with 3 of the top 10 quarterbacks in fantasy, and then Jaden Daniels could go either way, right? I think we discussed him a little bit in Heisman earlier. If you haven't signed up for Destination Devi, all gas, do that. There's Patriot.com, all gas. I'm always a good salesman. Anyhow, Jaden Daniels could be anywhere probably from like QB3 to like QB nothing. So I think I would hold it hostage and just take the quarterbacks and then force someone, if they want those quarterbacks, I want them to come ahead and get them from me, but they need to overpay in assets. And if they don't want to, well, then that's fine.
So I want to address this because I think this is a good comment. Where if you just take it in a vacuum, let's say I had, obviously you can't have 2 Josh Allens, but let's say I had 2 of the top 4 quarterbacks, right? So I had Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts in a lineup league. So if we're just talking a lineup league, you could go and you just have those 2. You're probably planning on any week where they're not injured / on a bye week, they're starting, right? There's no debate. If you have Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts in a lineup league, Shane, do you even need a solid QB3? Or could you just kind of get by with backup QBs, right? Just emergency contingencies where if I need them, I'll use them, but I don't need to carry Baker Mayfield or Kirk Cousins on my bench, right? There's no point because I'm never going to choose to start one of those guys over these guys that I already have. So in best ball, here's the thing that I think is very key. The reason that it makes it a numbers game is that the optimal for best ball, if you're trying to hit, let's say, because I agree with the idea that the 2 elite ones are going to give you higher WAR across the season. You can dent some of that advantage, though, by the fact that it's best ball and that you have more options to fire in a given week. It's not going to catch up to the team that has 2 of the top 4, but it's going to get closer just because of the nature of the best ball format. You don't have to sit start. You're still getting the optimal from all the ones you have. One of the biggest mistakes that I see is when a team has a Josh Allen or a Jalen Hurts, you still need to shoot for the optimal construction. You still want to go after a couple other QBs in best ball. And the difference in best ball is, unlike lineup, people aren't going to roster all the backups in best ball leagues. You can't hold 5 backups. They're all zeros. So what happens is you'll find teams that just don't have enough quarterback firepower. So yeah, if I have 2 of the elite QBs, I don't necessarily need to spend to go get more QBs like Ty might in this case. What I don't want to do is go, I just don't need QB, so I'm not going to have 2 or 3 more on my team. I'm still going to pick up. I'm essentially trying to block the other teams from being able to contribute to beating my 2 elite guys because they're able to accumulate 5. I'll give an example. We were in our biggest Heisman league last year, the HVV league that we talk about a lot, right, Shane? Ty was in the Final 4. Now it's a 3-copy league, so it's 36 teams, 3 copies. But it was best ball. Ty was in the Final 4. Every QB in the Final 4, there was only 3 top 12 QBs total amongst all 4 teams in the Final 4. Every other team, Joe Flacco, Nick Mullins, Jake Browning, they won with volume. So you can win that way, even in leagues like this that are super deep. So anyway, let's hide this comment.
Well, let me ask you this stuff. So how often do you see a team, and I can't imagine it's a lot, with 3 of the top 12 quarterbacks in Dynasty? 3 of the top 12.
Lineup or best ball?
Best ball. The lineup, you would never, if it's mine, you know that.
Best ball, I would strive to get that because then I basically just need 1 more. And that 1 can be one that I kind of just stream week to week. When there's a backup that's starting for a couple weeks, I'll pick them up because I want to probably have one more. But yeah, I'll go to probably what I would say is my ideal best ball setup team. And it probably looks something like this QB room. I have Trevor Lawrence, CJ Stroud, Russell Wilson, Tua Tagovailoa. It's almost perfect, right? Stroud's the hammer. You'd say Tua and T-Law are probably both top 15-ish. And then Russell Wilson is the fourth. And he's the guy that if he gets benched, I probably will get rid of him. But that's optimal. I don't need to tier up. I have zero incentive on a team like that to ever try to tier up if it costs me another starter. If it costs me like for instance, running backs in best ball are very tricky. They need to have a role. They can't be any running back on a 53. You understand that part, right? You got to have a role weekly. So like the idea of me giving up Trevor Lawrence and Derrick Henry to get CJ Stroud in best ball, not that interested in a deal like that in best ball. Lineup league, you'd be like, all I got to add is Derrick Henry to get CJ Stroud with Trevor Lawrence. You would probably consider that. It's a totally different dynamic when I'm playing best ball.
Right. So Flowosaurus brings up, sounds like he wants to draft the wide receivers and then say, hey, 1 and 4 and 5, 104 and 105 are open for a trade, and then value them as the 101 and 102. I completely understand that. Yes, you would like to value them at that. But again, it's like Scott's kind of pointing out here. I don't know if the rest of the league is going to value him at that. For that, like I said, I'll draft Caleb, hold on to him, and that 105, that would probably be Jay. I don't care. Whoever the 105 people think it's going to be, I think I would trade that. Can I get now? You know, it's a best ball league, so you know better than me because I'm still a neophyte, an infant. Can I get at least 2 firsts for that? Can I get a first this year and another first next year, 25?
Well, I'll give you this. Here's a very interesting example. So I'm looking back at that team I just told you about, right? The team that has those QBs. Last year, so this is I think this will articulate the point that I'm actually making here. So last year, this is a 12 team. This is a start 12. And this is a 32-man roster best ball league. My team led the league in wide receiver starter points. So across the year, I got the most points out of wide receivers on my roster. Okay. Here's my wide receivers, Shane. Now, last year, I did have Jamar Chase at wide receiver. Okay. But here were my wide receivers: Josh Downs, Jerry Jeudy, Christian Kirk, Puka Nacua, Michael Pittman, KJ Osborne, and let me see who else I had. So obviously Jamar Chase was the best one, but did you really hear, other than Michael Pittman in there, Puka Nacua, you don't need much else. When you have 2 guys like that, I can just stack together KJ Osborne's. I can stack together a bunch of guys that you would go, oh, those guys aren't worth anything. But literally, I passed the league by 100 or more points in terms of starter points at wide receiver. And I'm rolling out just a bunch of, it's literally like you would play running backs in a lineup league. Nelson Aguilar hit my lineup 3 times. Who was the other one? Malik Heath. Malik Heath hit my lineup 1 time. So it's like you get random games like that if you roster construct, right, where you think about a rookie draft this year, how many good receivers are and how more confident you are picking a receiver in this year's class in a best ball league. All you need is to hit Dontavian Wicks is a smash. Demario Douglas is a smash. You draft them, they contribute. So knowing that, I guess that would be my pushback. I would ask you, how do you value Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors in this format? Aside from the trade value, how do you value those guys relative to Ty's question? Go back to the second part. How do you forget the trade value? Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, in a best ball league, you can't go and get Puka Nacua and another starting receiver for Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, I know that.
People just aren't going to do that. Right. So how do you value the receivers here, knowing you can literally win the receiver position with just a bunch of steady eddies?
But that doesn't mean you do that. I mean, I feel like you do that because you can't get elite as many elite receivers as you want because you can't do things like that trade you were
Correct.
just talking about. In this position, he has a chance to literally take 3 wide receivers that are going to be in the top 10 in Dynasty. Now, are they going to produce like it? Sure. Yeah. I'll say that Marvin Harrison will, and Malik Neighbors will, and Roman Dunze. So if those are top 15 guys every week and better, top 15 every week's a little aggressive, but let's say each of those dudes gives you a wide receiver 1 week, 7 times out of the year, 8 times out of the year, which would be a really high rate. I'm thinking you're going to be preferring them over Jerry Jeudy and for some reason Eddie Royal's name came to my head, who hasn't played football in 10 years, etc. Demarcus Robinson, you know what I mean? I know Demarcus Robinson had 3 nice weeks, but he had like 13 weeks where he didn't exist. I think he's in a unique position because he has these picks, and he's in a unique position because it's best ball and people aren't going to pay up for these picks. So he's in a situation where it's like, well, I have to take these wide receivers, and I'll take one quarterback because again, I'd like to have 3 top 12 quarterbacks. He's just in a position to smash, basically. He's already in a position to do that as long as these draft picks don't completely bust out.
I think the bigger thing that kind of makes me wonder a little bit how he's going to build out this team, because that's his roster for those just seeing the question. Burrow, Lamar, Flowers, Laporta, Pitts, Cans, and then he has all these picks. In this class, I think the main driver is that I see all of those. Now, I'm not going to hit on every one of them, but I see every one of those picks from 201 to 302 as a potential wide receiver hit. That's what I would be focusing on drafting. What I don't want to draft in best ball is a running back. You draft a Kendre Miller or a Tank Bigsby and they don't have a role, very quickly they become a drain on your team. You now have to hope somebody else in your league goes, man, I kind of like Tank Bigsby. I'll give you a receiver for him. Any receiver. A receiver on the field is worth more than a running back like that. Like, I guess the major driver is here. I don't really want to take a risk to build out a running back room through the draft when I have all these picks. So if I was Ty, I have no problem just drafting the 3 receivers just because the 3 receivers are really good, the guys at the top of the draft. But I'm looking at those other picks, Shane, going, I'm going to get a Josh Downs. I'm going to get a Dontavian Wicks. I'm going to get a DeMario. I'm going to get those guys. There's too many of them in this class. All I need to do is just draft receivers with a role. That's it. A receiver that's going to be on the field. I might miss on 1 or 2 of those, but I'm guessing of those 6 picks he has from 201 to 302, I'm going to get some receivers that contribute. Trey Palmer in best ball last year was good. Way better than any of the rookie running backs.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd be going like, there's no way you would have thought to draft him over those rookie running backs. But if you're just looking for placeholders, if you're just trying to build out a receiver room of 12 to 14 receivers, you need those guys. You know what's probably holding his team back, Shane? He has no running backs with any role here. 0. Like, you got to get some running backs. You need some running backs that have a floor of points. So I don't know how he does that, but I would think he has to make a trade because I actually love the idea of just drafting.
Yeah, I mean, how else? And I was going to say he has no other choice to make a trade. I mean, sure, I assume he's going to draft running backs at 211, 301, 302, etc.
No, I don't want to draft any running backs. 201 class. Nope.
So I don't want to take it. He's got to trade for just known assets, players with an actual role that you don't even have to worry about getting a role.
If this is me, here's what I would do. I'll walk it through exactly how I would play this if I'm Ty. I would draft Caleb Williams. No question about it. He's my 3rd QB. What I'd be willing to do is shop one of those picks where another QB can be obtained to see if I can get a lesser QB and another asset. Give me a running back. I'd be willing to trade the 105 where someone else can take Jaden Daniels and you give me, I don't know, can you give me a Jared Goff and a crusty running back? Will you do that? You give me Jared Goff and Alvin Kamara for the 105. Would you do it?
No.
Jared Goff and James Conner for the 105.
No.
You don't think so?
I don't know. Probably. I feel like the answer is supposed to be no, so I'm just saying no.
Well, the point, the answer should be yes if you're actually valuing the 105 as it should be. But in a best ball league for his roster construction, if I can literally just split a couple of these picks and have somebody just tag me in an extra running back, I can build up my running back room. I'm fine building my receiver room with those later picks, but I'm going to end this with Flowers, the 3 receivers at the top. I'm going to draft another 4, 5, 6 receivers, but I need to find a way to build a running back room. And I don't want to try to build that through the draft. That's the worst thing you can do in best ball.
Yeah, so he can't split Zay Flowers into a couple running backs. And again, they don't have to be superstars, right? They just need to be, could you get James Conner and another running back for Zay Flowers?
Sure. He's going to need to do some splitting. But I guess for me, what my goal is, I want at least a dozen good receivers. At least. So I'm not in a business to be splitting a receiver. I would split Zay Flowers for a lesser receiver and a running back. Do you think I can get that done? And when I say lesser receiver, I mean, give me Romeo Dobbs and a usable running back.
Yeah.
Best ball, that
lineup,
you'd never do that. Best ball, you're like, dude, give me the, Dobbs and Flowers are closer in best ball because you don't have to pick when to start them. So I think he needs to do some splitting and some tearing down. But if he does, I mean, he's got the league by the balls with the number of assets that he has. I mean, come on, look at the high-end pieces he has. 2 of the 3 top tight ends.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like to me, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
All right, we got some questions. I want to get to them from the crowd.
Let's hit those.
Real quick, someone noted, live Manic and Chill. Yes, that is correct. T. Sanford.
What's up, Terrell?
Clay would like you to know that we do have a patron tier as well, and that is at dynastytradesand5.com. No, patron.com, all gas.
Look above my head on the stream. It's there every time, and Shane never reads it right.
It's the patron.com, all gas. Go check it out. Dynasty Trades and 5. Join our what do you call that? Patron. Yeah, there you go.
Patreon.com/all gas. It is the Destination Debbie Patreon. You can join the DTI 5 tier in there. $20 a month. It gets you literally this type of access all the time. We have a stages in there. You get bonus podcasts that we record. We do an AMA every Thursday night. We'll just record impromptu things and throw them in there. So if you like the community aspect, check it out. And Ray always says this. I'll back it up on his behalf. If you don't like it, if you try it out and you're just like, it's not for me, no sweat. Just let us know. But check it out right above my head, patreon.com/all gas. Let's get to the questions. I wanted to put,
I jumped on a free agency one because these are always fun. Zamir White impact after Madison joined Raiders. I am ecstatic that his competition apparently is going to be Alexander Madison. This means nothing but good things. We just saw Alexander Madison be handed a starting job, and he was absolutely atrociously bad. He's not particularly good at football, but what he will do is he'll take up some touches. I think he's good enough that the Raiders won't go out of their way. I'm sure they'll add another running back in the draft, but it probably won't be anyone high. It won't be anyone that's an actual threat to Zamir White. And Madison is 100% not a threat to Zamir White. So I like this for Zamir White.
Yeah. Look, I'm pulling up my running back data from last year. So neither one of them were very good. I know Zamir White was on a lesser sample size, but even if you just do it on a per opportunity basis, Zamir White was only slightly better than Alexander Madison. So I think this is probably just
smaller sample size. All right.
Well, I mean, it's on a per opportunity or per touch.
I get that, but still, if it's a smaller sample size, there's more. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know.
I mean, it was 123 opportunities for Zamir White, and it was 224 opportunities for Alexander Madison. So roughly 100 less for Zamir.
So this is what I was trying to say. So one carry, one opportunity that you're pouring has more impact on 123 versus 210 when there's a smaller sample size. So I'm not concerned about that at all. I am concerned that Aiden O'Connell's their starting quarterback, but that's another question. I don't know. They got Gardner Minshew. So that offense actually will be better. It has to be better, right? It can't be worse. So there's going to be some more touchdown scoring. So yeah, I actually like Zamir White going into next year.
I will just say, if you kind of ride through with this efficiency data, neither running back is good. Madison's not good, but Zamir White's not good either. So I would think they even bring in another one, which I think it'll be very interesting if they bring in a third running back. Like, I'll give you an example. This team drafts Ray Davis in the 4th. How would you tier him?
I think
obviously you'd put Ray Davis over Madison, easy, right? Because he hasn't sucked.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, look, I love Ray Davis's story. Let's just say that. I feel like you're obligated to say that when you're about to say something bad about him as a football player. I don't know that he's better than Alexander Madison. You're right. He hasn't sucked yet in the league. So he obviously will be worth more because he hasn't failed yet.
That's the key. Yeah. The community will bury Alexander Madison because if they draft a running back, they will say he's not even going to make the team.
Right.
Yet you could look up midway through the season and Alexander Madison is the starter. And everybody hates the fact that it would be essentially a 3-way backfield. Remember, they re-signed Amir Abdullah. They're still going to give him 15% of the third down snaps because that's his role. So he's going to steal. He's just going to poke just enough to annoy you, but he's never going to be relevant himself. So, but I think signing Madison just kind of signifies that they may draft another running back that throws right into the mix of these guys, and then who the hell knows who you want. But that's
and I have the opposite view because I think Madison is professional enough that they go, Zamir White's our guy, Alexander Madison's our backup guy, and then we have, like you said, Amir Abdullah to play some third downs. Could be wrong if they add another quarterback. That's not what the word I was looking for. If they add another running back in the draft, regardless if it's Ray Davis or whoever, I'll feel less good about Zamir White at that point.
Well, to your point, here's how you play the Raiders, I think. There's a chance that they could not really draft much at running back, right? And they just roll into the season with Zamir White and Madison. There's a chance they don't do anything at quarterback, and they just roll into the season with Minshew and O'Connell. Would you say it's fair to proclaim that Minshew and Zamir White are probably not head and shoulders better than the backup that currently is on their roster?
Correct.
So which ones can you get for almost nothing? Probably Madison and Aiden O'Connell. Yeah. They may not be bad guys to get for free because there's a 30-70 chance that they are the starter over the guy that everyone's currently valuing as the starter. But it's not bad to have some Minshew or Zamir White either, because if they don't take anybody in those positions, the community will just hand both of them the starting job to start the season.
I'll say this, I think in situations such as this, it's good. They're all their cost is depressed. The price is depressed for all of them when a move like this happens. So if you want to, luckily if you're in 30 leagues, 31 leagues or 50 leagues like Scott, you can probably have some exposure to each of them. And then you're going to be right somewhere, or more likely you're going to be wrong on all of them because all of them aren't really that good at football.
Yeah, this does feel like a trap spot for a rookie, though, right? A guy that we like is a rookie that goes here, and then all of a sudden you're wondering why they're not getting every touch because these are probably professional running backs that they have, and they're not just going to hand Braylon Allen the job if they draft him in the 4th versus these two. But the community, if they took a Braylon Allen in the 4th, the community would put that guy in the top 30 already right away. Definitely. And it would probably be a mistake. So let's get to the next one. Kyler was a blast in the playoff push. Yeah.
I don't understand. He was a blast to sell. I wonder what people were buying for at that point. Because I bought Kyler earlier.
Not before he even came back.
I bought him way in the offseason when his prices were depressed. So I didn't have to buy him from anyone after that. And also, you probably, again, this is why you buy quarterbacks like Kyler Murray that are top 8 points per game every year of their career when there's a dip in the market for no legitimate reason other than he hurt his knee.
What else? You got the stars. John Taylor, buy low. Ooh, you just did a show last week talking about running backs. He was a guy I think you specifically mentioned to dump or sell.
Oh,
repeat it here in case people missed that Shane Says from last week. If you didn't see it, go check it out.
Yeah, first of all, go check out Shane Says. Give it a like. Argue with me in the comments. And if I can't, I don't know what's going on real quick on YouTube. I keep trying to reply to this one dude and my message won't save for some reason. So what I did is I clicked on his icon on YouTube, found that he had his own show, and then went and did it. His last show that he did was a year ago. I actually went on there and sent him a comment because I couldn't get it to work on our page. But anyway, John Taylor, hard sell for me. Running back 5 overall. John Taylor's really not that special. Not special at all. Clay Scott's been talking about that for years. Like there's a range at running back scoring wise. It's actually special. It's actually a needle mover. John Taylor doesn't hit that. And it's just that he's a running back, running back 5. I saw trades for Puka Nakua straight up. I saw a trade for CD Lamb. I saw all types of trades like that. I would say go check out Dynasty Daddy's trade database, DLF's trade finders, and go see what people are getting for John Taylor. And you'll probably be more apt to sell John Taylor. But no running back is ever a buy low. Is there ever a running back that's a buy low? I don't understand buy low.
So here's the thing. His efficiency has dropped since he had that ankle injury. And the reality is Jonathan Taylor's not in his prime anymore. This is his 5th year. Like it or not, running backs don't get better when they're in their 5th year. And I'm not saying he can't be the same, but like he's not going to bounce back and go for 23 points per game, most likely.
He's never.
I'm not betting on that. He's good. Well, he had 1 year where he exceeded 21.
Right.
But that was before his ankle injury, and that was 3 years ago. So I'm not betting on it. He's probably, when you say he's probably a good bet to finish somewhere between running back 5 and 15, just based on volume and the fact that he's a good player. But that, I don't want to hold that when people are still thinking, man, he has the 3-down skill set. He's a size speed freak that's going to get back to what he was. Just probably not.
Right. Outside of that 2021 season, which is now going on 3 full seasons ago, just about at least 2 seasons in between, at 22 points per game. After that, he was the RB1 overall. So I've been RB17 and RB12. And you could say he's working his way back from injury and all that good stuff. But it's like Scott said, running backs don't typically get better as they get older. And this isn't a CMC parallel because CMC was putting up just absurd numbers for multiple years before he ran into some lower body injuries. So to me, no, John Taylor's not a buy low. He's someone that I'm actually selling high on.
Well, CMC didn't get better. He just didn't fall off at the rate that we thought he was going to.
No,
it's not like it's not like he got 20% better when he got to be 27. You know what I mean? He just he didn't decline. Like he didn't have a normal career decline like we see with a lot of others. So yeah, I guess my only thing would be I don't know if he actually trades for running back 5, but to your point in the pod was like at least try. You know what I mean? Like try to sell him. But I think most people are going to go, man, I don't really want to buy a running back with that type of asset that you're going to be going for.
No, but you know what's good to get out, and this is why I like going to DLF. This is why I like going to any trade finder, really. It doesn't matter. DLF is just default, but DLF or Dynasty Daddy, or I believe Dynasty Nerds has one too. Whoever, I don't care. I like to see what trades are happening in leagues that I'm not in, because I know in most of the leagues that we are in, people don't like running backs on a visceral level. And that visceral hatred towards running backs isn't felt in every league. So it is good to just go out there and see what else happens in these outside leagues. And then, see if I can come up with any ideas to get someone in my league, someone in our league to bite on it if I can.
What next?
Is it crazy to take Marvin Harrison Jr. and Neighbors at 101 and 103 if you're set at QB1 and have a top 15 QB2 in Superflex? No.
Well, this is what we got into at the beginning of the show, and we thought we were going to have a theme, and now it's 39 minutes in, and we really haven't talked about that topic. Welcome to Manic and Chill. It's truly what the show title was built on. But no, I don't think it is. I mean, we don't have to spend a ton of time on this because we're probably going to talk about this another 10 times before the draft. But I think it's just a landscape right now where people value the high-end receivers, and we've seen a lot of quarterbacks drafted high that last couple of years we would have said, well, you just have to take that guy at 101, 102, 103 just because they got the draft capital, and that's where you invest in Superflex. And unless they become CJ Stroud, then you're kind of like, man, I wish I kind of would have taken the receiver that blew up in value. But more importantly, let's just assume neither player you draft, the receiver or the quarterback, busts. but they also don't absolutely smash. They just perform good. Good, not great. What have we seen the theme has been recently with the wide receivers, Shane? It is a receiver. We have enough ways to look at receivers objectively now and figure out who is good and who isn't. And we will excuse away bad quarterback play for a receiver that got good draft pedigree and hits some of those peripheral numbers, Trinity, whatever you want to talk about. We will excuse that away. And people are willing to, maybe they don't not lose value, but people are willing to wait multiple years and still lean on the laurels of Drake London and Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson's rookie year. And as long as they don't get appreciably worse, you're willing to wait multiple years for them to fix their QB situation. We just are. Look at where somebody like Chris Olave is valued right now. Garrett Wilson, look where they're valued right now. They're good. It's hard to look at them and say their peripherals are ever going to line up with them being elite. But they're still fungible trade assets. You can go still get useful pieces if you have Chris Olave.
I'll go a step further.
Why not?
That's Shane Says episode. JSN put up completely mediocre rookie numbers. Treylon Burks the year before, Jamison Williams. Those dudes all had pretty much the same value after the first year. In some cases, like Jamison, they still have significant trade value 2 years after the fact that they've never done really anything. Fewer than 9 fantasy points per game. So it's just, we will definitely give them that leeway. Whereas Bryce Young, and again, he looked awful, absolutely awful. I get it. But if you try to trade him now and you try to get a first for him, people are looking at you like you took naked pictures of their mom and sent them to him. Like, it is not a good look. It's a perplexed look.
Yeah, and I think Bryce is a little bit of an unfair one because he was so bad, like you said. But I think the idea being, if you just assume kind of the status quo for both, as long as the receiver is good and they're going to have the benefit of the doubt by starting very, very high, like Malik Neighbors, even if he's just JSN, he's starting so high that he's going to be a fungible asset next year. I think if you're just an average QB, I have no reason to think Bryce Young is going to be this bad for his whole career. But I think people look at him and say, if he's not going to be elite, then I'm just not that prone to go and try to get him. He's immediately more valuable to the team that already invested in him, which means he's harder to move. You know, if I have JSN, there's probably everybody in my league has some interest in him. I don't think that's true with quarterbacks necessarily. So I don't think it's crazy, to answer the original question, to take the receivers just because they do buy you a little bit more time if they don't completely smash.
All right, so this goes back to the theme that we do have. It's quarterbacks. So it's another quarterback just showed up. Is Field worth a buy in Superflex start 9?
Nope. Hasn't been worth a buy in Superflex for a first for, I don't know, since we did a stream during the season and said we would take any first.
Yeah,
I've stuck with that all year.
So let me ask you this: 205.
Well, yeah, you're right. I'm going to put up this question as well. No. And is Fields worth a buy? Put that one up if you could.
Oh, I already let go of that one. That's gone. Yeah, it's gone. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's questions from the same cloth, cut from the same cloth. Are we
in
cutting
lineup
Trey
leagues?
Lance at this point?
In lineup leagues, I want as much Justin Fields and Trey Lance as I can get. The caveat, I don't want to pay shit for any of them. I'm trying to collect those guys that if I ever had to play them, if they ever got opportunity, one of two things. I could start them and they could produce, which is most backup quarterbacks. Second is, I think with a guy like Lance or a guy like Fields, you get this extra bonus of bounce back value that if they ever got in, there's going to be somebody that buys back into Justin Fields when it's week 11 and he's starting for the Steelers. Somebody in your league is going to want him. And that's where you have to have the discipline to trade him. But I am interested in buying him. What I'm not paying for, though, is that price that everyone kind of thinks he's going to get to sometime during the season. I'm not buying for that price. So I'll ask you, Shane, what would you pay today with sheer confidence that you can either be fine with letting go if Fields gives you 1 or 2 starts during the season? Or what are you confident you can sell him for more than if you bought for today? Whenever he takes over, if you just say, I know he sucks, I'm trading him as soon as the Steelers give him a chance to start. What is it competently that you can get before that first game that you would pay today?
I'm sorry, I had to ask Alexa to be quiet. She was notifying me to the fact that Manic and Chill is recording. I would give up. I can't confidently say I would give up more than 208. Feels like the range I'm comfortable. 208. And then because I do think I could get a first for him, even if I had to add something to him in season, when Russell Wilson, I don't know, he gets arrested for stealing Subway sandwiches or whatever, living dangerously, whatever it is he does, more likely because let's say he gets injured or he's just not very good and Steelers aren't winning. He's just bad. He's just bad. He's dumping down 1,000 passes to Jalen Warren and Najee Harris, and Mike Tomlin's like, I can't live this way. So I'll say I will trade the 208 for him, and I think I could get a first for him. If he gets a starting shot again, even though he's bad, it's like a running back in season at that point because the points he's going to put up, even if he's bad, are going to be really good, and they're going to be high-end numbers, even if it doesn't matter because he won't be a starting quarterback the following season.
Is that a smart trade, Shane?
No, that is very
those
bad.
2 picks for Fields.
Just saw the 112 and 205 in a league for Fields. That is not a good trade. That's given up. First of all, you're giving up 2 assets that you could have used for basically something more like better, something more better than that. You could have used
Would
those.
You sell for this?
Wide receiver. Yes.
Would you sell for one of those picks?
No, because I said I would do the 208, right? So buying it 206 or getting the 206, no, I'm not going to move them. I'll hold them. I'm like you. I want to buy a lot of Fields. I want a lot of Trey Lance just because if they do get the start, I know that I could sell them.
Sam Howell. I kind of feel the same way about Howell. I think if he gets a shot, I'm interested in him, but it's more for the bounce back value. I know he's probably not a good NFL QB, but I know there's people that as soon as he gets a shot, people will trade for him.
Give me all those dudes. Hal, Ritter, Lance, Fields, just any of those guys. That's probably not Pickett. Not Pickett. Although I'll say this.
When he goes to the Chiefs.
I'll say this. If Pickett gets in there, he will be behind one of the best offensive lines of football with a wide receiver core that puts to shame what Pittsburgh puts out there. I'm just saying. Now, that doesn't mean you're automatically going to be good because look at Desmond Ritter last year with Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Bijan. He was still god-awful. Pickett might be another one. I want them all. Give me all those back.
Mac Jones?
Did he sign anywhere? Where was he traded?
He got traded to Jacksonville.
No, I do not want Mac Jones. Mac Jones that's a bridge too far.
That's a QB room of just mediocrity, isn't it?
That's just giving up. If I'm trading for Mac Jones, that's a sign for help. It's a cry for help, and please send help.
Good question, though. Very good question with Fields. But for me, again, it is I like to collect these guys, and you have to think about how does the community value. I mean, the community is begging for Trey Lance to get a chance.
Right.
They're just begging for it. Like, wait till it happens. You want to have some spare Trey Lance shares. What I don't want to do is actually pay anything for him. Can I get him thrown in? Can I trade him for a roster clogger? Shane, can I trade Jonathan Mingo for Trey Lance?
Do it.
That's the kind of trade that you can make. I put up a bunch of polls this weekend, and it was just literally those type of players for these backup QBs. And it was, man, I'd rather have the player. I'd rather have Rondale Moore over Zach Wilson. Why? And Zach Wilson's awful, but if he goes somewhere and he's the backup that's not on the Jets, there's at least a chance. What are the odds in a start 10 that Rondale Moore ever matters, Shane? Ever?
0. Absolute negative 0.
Why is he on your team? And if you can get something for him, then make those deals. Like that. That's how I want to buy him. I don't want to actually pay anything worth anything to my roster.
Take one of these wide receivers like Treylon Burks or Jamison Williams and see if you can't get you 2 of those.
Is this true?
Josh Dobbs to the 49ers.
If that's true, then that becomes a quarterback that you must have as well.
Let me look it up. I'm just going to
check it out.
Twitters.
Anybody else in the chat confirm if that is true?
Yes,
Josh Dobbs to the Niners. That is sexy. I just talked about that on Destination Dynasty. Whoever the Niners take as their backup QB, you're going to want them.
Mike Garafolo is reporting it, so it is true. Yeah, and if you didn't check out Scott's Destination Dynasty this morning, It
Just
dropped this
morning. If
morning.
you like talking about backup QBs, that's the show for me.
That is the show for you.
I think I advocated trading for Desmond Ridder and Zach Wilson. And I said I never thought I would be on here advocating trying to buy Trey Lance. But,
well, here's the thing, though, right? And that brings up a good point for Dynasty is that not every player, this isn't true of every player, but a lot of players, it depends on the cost because you can turn a profit on them. Now, Jonathan Mingo, I'm a Jonathan Mingo type. I never want to buy them because the historical rates of them turning out to be anything is super low. So it's a waste of time. Whereas a backup quarterback, we've seen it before. Jake Browning last year, I could have traded him for big money. Joe Flacco, etc. We've got a couple questions starred. John doesn't usually get to catch these live, and it's a Jalen Hurts related question, so I'm going to head and answer this. He has a pretty loaded team. His QB room is Mahomes, Hurts, and Hal with the 103, 4, 6, and 8. It's a 10 by 11 Superflex. Half point PPR, 1.5 points for tight end premium. Give Hurts, Hal, and Hollywood for the 102 and the 105.
I mean, how loaded are we if we have Sam Howell as our QB3?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. No, I mean, and I get what you're thinking here, right? You're thinking Caleb and Neighbors.
See, this is where I differ. Because he's got, here's the thing. He's got the 103, 4, 6, and 8, right? So he would be locking in literally 6 of the top 8 picks. I don't value this QB class hardly at all in a 10-teamer. So for me, having the advantage already with those picks and with Mahomes and Hurts and the fact that I already have the 3, the 4, and the 6, and the 8, kind of feels like I just want to stick with Mahomes and Hurts, and I'll take every non-QB in the class and just roll with that. I'd rather keep Hurts, move around the board, and make sure I lock in. Now, how good would it be to lock in the top 3 receivers with Mahomes and Hurts? That's what I'm trying to do here.
He already has the 103, 4, so he's going to get 2 of the top 4 wide receivers probably anyway. He's probably going to get some combination of Neighbors, not Marv. He'll get Neighbors and a Dunze and probably Brock Bowers. I don't see a need to move Hurts for this either.
And can I trade up to get the 102
instead of using Hurts?
You know, like I'm trying to do whatever I can to maintain this QB room, but also hit with a bunch of receivers. I'd take the receivers over the QBs most likely. So
yeah, John's shown the rest of his team. The rest of his team is pretty stacked, but yeah,
got 3 more starred. Which ones you want to hit?
And
we'll rock out.
Hide that current comment.
Marvin Harrison's going 101. Okay, then too late. Probably not going to get him. Make sure you get Neighbors and a Dunze though.
It says it's a strategy question.
You're muted.
So no. Am I?
Shane muted for anybody?
I'm not muted.
Say it in the chat because I can't hear Shane. Say something, Shane.
Shane is good. It's you. Okay, cool.
Nope. Weird.
Nope. Yeah, it is weird.
And fix my audio. You take it.
I'll read the question. Where'd it go? Sorry. Strategy question. He has Watson and Russ in a 10-team Superflex. Start 11. He has 9 of the 10 firsts. How many QBs do I take versus trade for 75 cents to 90 cents on the dollar to add hammers? Well, I think Scott just talked about this, right? In a start 10 in a 10 team, even if it's start 11, we're going to value those quarterbacks a little bit less. I will say with Watson and Russ, I'd want at least one more quarterback, and that would probably be Jaden Daniels because I want a guy that could put up crooked numbers in a league like this, even though that's probably risky. And then, yeah, I'm fine with moving absolutely every other pick for known quantities outside of Harrison and Neighbors. I want to take those guys. Outside of that, the rest of the picks can go.
All right, I'm back. I can hear you. It was on my end. AirPods had an issue, disconnected from the computer, but appreciate you taking it. Yeah, that's 9 of the 10 first here. That's very I didn't hear the first part of your answer, but my quick answer to this would be like you're kind of just going out and shopping every one of the picks. You know, let other people dictate what I do with them based on what they're willing to move.
I'm gonna hit this guy because he was here at 5:30 when I first jumped in here and didn't realize I was actually live. And I was just sitting here by myself, and people were putting comments in. 12 team Superflex, start 9 PPR. He has an offer for sending Fields for the 111. Yes, hit that. Yes. I don't care about the rest of the question. Only QBs on the roster are Baker and Alexandria Ocasio. I don't care. Just yes, take that for Fields and move on.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that the offer of not moving Fields for that because your QB room is weak, it just means your QB room is weak, right? Like you're still going to take that price and just worry about it later. So
yeah, your QB room will still be weak without Fields, or even with Fields, except you
it's
won't have
weak
the
with
111.
Fields.
Yeah,
you have two backups instead of one.
So get the 111, and maybe you could do something with that and try to get you another quarterback. Last question we're going to hit. Howdy, Dynasty, Superflex, 12-team PPR. He received Amon-Ra in the 2024 107. Okay, I'll read this again. He received Amon-Ra in the 24 107 for Devonta Smith, Kyron Williams, and the 24 110. He wants Rome or Brock. Thoughts? One, I was doing my first rookie draft today, my first pure rookie draft. And Rome did not make it to 107 because I drafted his ass at 105, I believe, or 106. So yeah, you might be able to get.
And who did you take him over? Just so everyone has context. Did you take him over Brock Bowers,
JJ McCarthy, Brock
JJ
Bowers,
McCarthy, and Drake May?
I don't even know if Drake May was on the board. I didn't even look to see if Drake May was available. I gotta be honest.
I mean,
with
you
you
took him over one of Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, or Drake May if you took him at 105.
Yeah. It might have been 106. I'll have to look it up. But either way, I wasn't. It wouldn't have mattered what quarterback was on the board there, which is funny to our conversation earlier. But I also have Kyler and Lamar in that team, so me drafting a quarterback would be redundant of redundancy.
So let's say he doesn't get Rome Odunze here, and you end up with McCarthy or Bowers. Does that change your outlook on the trade, or are you taking it just to get Amon-Ra St. Brown? Because it's basically Kyron Williams and Devontae Smith or Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you're getting the pick upgrade. So if you take out the pick upgrade, assuming he doesn't get what he wants, what side would you take there? Smitty or Kyron or Amon-Ra?
Amon-Ra.
So, right. So it doesn't even matter who he gets. You'd still do it. Now you have the higher pick. You're at least closer into the range where you can get the guy you want if you're willing to add and move up to 105. You go to 105, you're definitely getting Rome.
Yep. And just to clarify, I took him at 106. So the quarterbacks were off the board. I took him over Bowers and JJ McCarthy. But quite frankly, I didn't even check to see if any of the quarterbacks were available. I was just taking Rome. So there's that. So yeah, do that deal. And like Scott said, you can use that 107 to hopefully move around the board, move up. You can move up easier with a 107 than you can a 110. That's a wrap.
Yeah, good stuff. 57, almost 58 minutes, live Manic and Chill, some audio problems, some things at the beginning that we probably could have done smoother. But you know what? That is old school Manic and Chill. We've been doing this show since 2020. Before Shane and I even were with Dynasty Trades in 5, it was just him and I would get on here and just talk. And we're going to try to do that probably more in the off season because there's going to be days like this where, you know, the biggest news that's happened is Alexander Madison and Josh Dobbs signing, which is cool that they both happened during this stream. But there's not a lot of structured stuff. Like we don't want to do a mock draft every single day, every single show. We don't need to do a rookie mock. Ray and I are going to do rookie mocks on Destination Chill every Sunday, so we don't need to do one on Monday. Like there's enough of that content out there. So I think it's probably just better we, do one or two of these live a month and just come on here and just talk about what's relevant, what's current, like what are the decisions people are actually facing in their leagues.
Right.
And it is what it is. So hopefully this is a little more informal, not as structured. And that's all I got to say. So if you want to sign us off, Shane, this is on you. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Bye.